G'day folks, Andy from Fraser's GAMSAT here, and we're talking about Section 1 questions, the different kinds of questions, the different kinds of text types you have to deal with. And right now we're talking about kind of a controversial text type, and that's the almighty comments. Now some people love comments. They just breeze through them, score 100% correct. Others literally pull their hair out, fizzle into a ball of anxiety and then pop, spilling blood and guts everywhere. So let's talk about a couple of strategies that are used to really sort of get to the heart of what comments is all about. So we have what we call a stem, a collection of questions based on a single text that has 4 different comments, and our questions are about each subsequent comment. The theme or topic of those comments are gun control in the United States. So each comment is a kind of testimonial or an interview of someone in response to a shooting in America. So this first one, we've got someone who is nervous about buying a gun and paranoid or nervous about mass shootings. It's quite dark material we're dealing with. I'll try and keep it light. So we have a question about the psychology of the speaker or the person making the comment. We have A, distrust that others uphold the law, a phobia that her children are unsafe, C, paranoia about another shooting, and D, all of the above. So this person is talking about, I'm paralyzed with fear some nights, I'm crying, I'm thinking what I can do in this situation to protect my family. It felt like a breakdown. It felt like breakdown after breakdown, so I changed my mindset and became a gun owner. So A, is the person feeling sort of nervous about others upholding the law? Yes, yeah, so others shooting other people. She does distrust, but is that the strongest or most accurate way of describing that point? I don't think it is. We'll put a dot there because we'll come back to it. Yeah, I don't think it's strong enough or accurate enough. It is technically true, but is it the best answer available to us? Then we have B, a phobia that her children are unsafe. Okay, now, this is a semantic question. Phobia. What is a phobia? A phobia is an irrational fear of something. Is it an irrational fear after you survive a shooting? I don't think so. That is a trick answer. We can get rid of B. Now we have C, paranoia about another shooting. We have nervous, something could happen at any time. I'm paralyzed in fear some nights. So paranoia is a far better word than phobia. And so it can't be D, all of the above, because of course it's not B. So between A and C, it must be C, because it is strong, it is precise, it is eloquent, and completely summarizes what the question is asking us. Tough question though. So, looking at the next question, we have this person talking about their brother being murdered. There's quite dark material. So from this passage, we can infer that Ms. CG's friends are professionals in the field of. So just recalling the passage, someone who feels compelled to self-harm after the death of their brother in a shooting, realizes what they're doing, comes downstairs, talks to their mother, I think, to call their friends who were professionals. So we have an ellipses, professionals, to give people like us help. So we're looking for help to do with issues regarding the desire or the impulse to self-harm. So experts, so it's asking us to infer what might the experts be. Experts in domestic violence, I don't think that's true because we're talking about domestic violence, so person-on-person violence. And to be an expert in domestic violence is a sort of strange, it's an uncommon thing to sort of say or infer. You'd most likely be a counsellor or a psychologist or in that area rather than an expert on domestic violence. So B, mental health, there you go. That's a far better answer. So we know that that these professional friends are going to somehow address a psychological issue that the person is going through, dealing with their trauma. So B is a far better answer, but let's look at the final two. An expert in self-harm. Once again, self-harm is the kind of object that they're looking at, or the kind of behaviour that they're looking at, but someone who looks at behaviours is a mental health professional, or a psychologist, or psychiatrist, or counsellor, or social worker. So that's a trick question. It's asking us to look at the behaviour, not the kind of profession that looks at certain behaviours. So get rid of C. Now, public health professional, that's a better answer. So our 50-50 is mental health and public health professional. Of course, it's not a public health. It is a public health issue, but it's not specifically public health. It is a mental health issue, meaning that B is our correct answer. All right, let's look at the third comment. So we have this third comment, who's a Republican man who is shot. Once again, I apologise for the rough material. And a Republican man. Republican voter who is shot but still doesn't change their mind on gun control laws. So the people who thought Mr. SS's views on gun control would change would now consider him to be, so remember he's been shot in a mass shooting, wasn't killed, but still won't change their views on gun control. So it's not our kind of judgment. So you might think, for example, that someone who is shot but on principle doesn't change their opinion on gun control might be stoic, but that's our judgment of him. So it's the people who expected him to change, but he doesn't. So they would think he is tenacious, yes. Stubborn, yes. Optimistic, that would be quite strange, and that's a judgment. That's us bringing in our own bias, yeah? So between stubborn and tenacious, so these people are most likely critical of Mr. SS. So tenacious is has positive connotations. Someone who is driven, someone who won't back down, yeah, in a positive light. But stubborn is a pejorative. So these are the critics of Mr. SS, so A is our correct answer. All right, the next comment, we have, all right, so we have a surgeon. I find this comment to be quite interesting actually. A surgeon who operated and treated people who were affected by a mass shooting. This one at the Dallas Black Lives Matter shooting. So, but who is still, this surgeon is still in favour of gun laws. He loves shooting. He said he loves guns but hates gunshot wounds. So Dr. MF's position as a trauma surgeon and a lifetime shooter, the and there is conjunctive, so he is this and this, makes, what does that make his opinion? A, controversial? No, because that we are judging that. That's bringing in our own bias. B, balanced. Well, we have the doctor's entire career and we have his hobby. So does that suggest balance? It might, but I think that is a controversial answer. C, divided. Yeah, the whole comment is discussing the kind of sort of cognitive dissonance that he has in his brain. So divided is good. D, more significant, that is a judgment call. So between balanced and divided, balanced suggests harmony. C, divided, suggests that it is difficult. We can tell that it's difficult for this doctor because he has ellipses everywhere. Yeah, he's hesitant. It's a spoken comment. Yeah. And we have this frustration. So C is a much more accurate answer. All right, let's look at the last question in this STEM. We have all the comments. So we're looking at the comments in a cohesive way, all 4 comments. All the comments show that on the topic of gun control in America, the population is A, hindered from making progress because of the Second amendment. Now, these are very difficult questions because that sounds completely reasonable. But we only really have reference to the Second Amendment in one of the comments. But this is the dead giveaway for me. Progress. Progress is a loaded word, and this kind of reveals a bit of bias within, if you were to go with A, it reveals that you're a kind of anti-gun, have anti-gun opinions. Making progress, like for many people, progress would be keeping the gun laws as they are. So that gets rid of A, because it is a bias trigger. B, divided on the issue. Yeah, that we do see this in the comments, divided not only between folk, but also within people's own kind of sort of reason-making faculties. So B is good. C, stuck and not progressing. That's the same thing. That's a kind of, it's a much more broad bias trigger because we've got progressing and the pejorative word stuck. Get rid of C. B and C can't be, leaving us with the most kind of reasonable and descriptive answer. B, divided on the issue. All right, folks, that's comments. That's a couple of ways of the way I approach comments. Thanks very much. See you later.